So I wanted to take time to do a video to kind of tell you a little bit about myself and some history. I was born and raised in Alabama, and we were always farming. My dad loves to farm. He raised soybeans and wheat, and we had beef cattle. So we were always working outside. And then even my mom, it was a family affair, but a lot of hard work and a lot of great values that were instilled in me that I've carried throughout my entire life. And from there, I wound up, and I was confused. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I graduated high school, but in talking to both my parents, I wound up going into school to be an instrument tech. And there is a technical college down in Louisiana that I had attended, and it was called Industrial Instrumentation. So there they're teaching you hydraulics and electronics. They had a miniature plant that you would start up and shut down, and then they would rig it up so you could troubleshoot it. But it involved a lot of pressure, level, flow, temperature, all different types of measurements in a process. And those measurements have to go to a control system. And so we would learn about different types of control systems and have to, put the two and two together, and just it's a great technical field for me. And once I got out of technical school, I wound up going into construction, and I traveled all over the lower 48, working different jobs. My main field was more semiconductor when it came to the construction side of things. But we would go in, and for the most part it was new builds. We would have to ensure that the install was correct, make sure it was wired up correctly, and then do commissioning, and which is a point-to-point check from the device to a control system. And then we would go through a startup, and the whole process we would get the whole system going and then basically walk away. Every once in a while we would do what they call a turnaround, which is an existing system, and we would go in and make modifications of some sort, and then again have to commission that system and bring it back up online. From there, I wound up going into eventually the maintenance side, and that I was in oil and gas processing, more natural gas processing plant. And it was interesting in that from a construction standpoint, you're coming in, it's something new, you're doing install, you're making sure it works, and then you walk away. And then you've got the maintenance side of things, which is the system that has been in place after a long time, and you're starting to kind of weed out the bugs in the system that you wouldn't necessarily see after you've done construction. So it made for some challenging, fun troubleshooting. And then, of course, maintaining that system as well, making sure that all the devices were calibrated on a regular basis. If the system went down, we'd have to go in and troubleshoot why it went down and get the system back online. From there, I met my husband, and I wound up coming to Alaska. So on the flip side of things, now from when I went to Alaska, or since I'm in Alaska, I went on the design and engineering side of things, and that in itself is fun and challenging as well. So rather than more the hands-on work that I was doing in the field, this entailed more of a lot of researching, working with multiple disciplines, and creating these packages in CAD, wiring up devices all the way through up to a control system, a lot of planning, just very challenging. But in the end, what we had produced, this package would go to the guys on the construction end of side of things, and they would install it. And then if they had any questions, they would come to us, and we would, try to address those questions. And that was rewarding in itself, to see something that you were a part of designing, and to go out and see it actually installed rather than on a piece of paper. Very, very rewarding. And then in Alaska, unfortunately, oil and gas is feast or famine. Well, COVID hit, and there was a lot of famine. So a lot of people got laid off, just like everywhere else in most fields. And I decided that I wanted to go into a job with a little more stability. So I started looking around, doing some research, and I came across a position that was open for a biomedical technician. And I read it up on it, and I'm like, it's really the same exact thing I'm doing, but yet different at the same time. Rather than a oil and gas process, now we're dealing with a human body process, and they're both ever changing and always challenging. And then I wound up doing the interview. Everything, my background carried over to a biomedical technician. It's now that I've done this position, I find it even more rewarding. I love that whenever I go in and I work on this equipment, and I see it actually being used, it's very satisfying and rewarding at the same time, because I know that I'm able to help people in a technical standpoint. I'm not having to deal with the blood, guts, and gore, which is not for me, but from a technical side of things, it's extremely rewarding. And I would highly recommend this type of work to someone that's looking for something in the medical field that is technical. Something else I do is, as you've seen, I do a lot of travel in Alaska, and I found it to be a fantastic fit for me, because I love to travel, I love adventure, and I do spend quite a bit of time away from the family. This was not a decision for this position that was made lightly. It was something that we made together as a family, because we knew I would be away from home quite a bit. But at least I'm home on the weekends, and whenever I am in town, I spend quite a bit of time with the family. So more than I actually thought I would. But yeah, that's me. That's a little bit of history about me and how I went from technical school to being a biomedical technician.